Hello everybody, welcome to the Political Vigilante. We're back in the beautiful studio somewhere beneath Wayne Manor. I want to thank everybody that came out to the shows in Florida. It was awesome. Ron and I had a great time. So wonderful meeting so many of you in person, and I hope more of you join us. February, I'm headlining 3 different Zanies clubs in the Chicago area: St. Charles, downtown Chicago, and Rosemont. That's at grahamelwood.com. And then Progressive Comedy Tour is coming to the Gulf States in March. We're going to Lafayette, Louisiana, Oxford, Mississippi, New Orleans, and Pensacola. That is March like 10th through the 13th, I believe. That's at grahamelwood.com. And of course, April, we're going to Texas, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin. Be there, Texas. Get your tickets. Several of the shows sold out in Florida, so you don't want to get locked out of the shows. Get your show tickets now, and of course, support the show on the Patreon. So this is an article that I found, okay, in USA Today. Antarctic ice melting 6 times faster than it did in the 80s. This just came out January 14th. The reason I wanted to do this, talk about this, one, first of all, this is something we should be paying attention to, but I was a little pleasantly surprised that a corporate media outlet like USA Today would be talking about this. Now, it's one of these things that USA Today does. It's this quick little short article. It wasn't like headline news. Everyone's not, all the major networks aren't, this isn't like dominating the 24-hour news cycle as it should be doing, and there should be so much public pressure to like force a Green New Deal. It's got to happen. But I'll take a little victory when I can get it that they're covering this. But again, they just sort of cover it like, this is what this report said. So, you know, it's so they can say, oh, we cover climate change. We talk about it. It should be front page, and every media outlet should be covering it. That's why I'm going to talk about it. It's not a very long article. The link is in the show notes. It's not very long at all. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 paragraphs. I mean, it's literally like 200 words or something. The ice in Antarctica is melting 6 times faster than it did just 40 years ago, a new study reports. This dramatic acceleration of the ice loss is a clear indication of human-caused climate change, the study authors said. Okay, good. They're saying the study authors because they can't say... I mean, I'll give this reporter credit that they're probably putting this at the, you know, this is just the study authors. They can't say this is happening. And then the article doesn't go into the fact that all of these climate change deniers and the fossil fuel industry spends tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars on campaigns to undermine climate change research. And the major media outlets always like, well, let's report both sides. Like they do that crap. This article doesn't talk about that, but it at least is getting this information out there. Lead author Eric Rignot, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, an ice scientist at the University of California, Irvine, said the melting ice has caused global sea levels to rise more than ½ an inch since 1979. That might not seem like, oh, ½ an inch, what's that? It's nothing. It affects a lot. It affects a lot. Imagine if you're in your bathtub and you're close to the, you've only got a couple inches of space between the top of the tub and an extra ½ inch comes up. That's uh-oh. We've had a lot of flooding, especially on the East Coast. You know, in Inconvenient Sequel, they show there's flooding at ground zero. There's flooding, the subway system. I mean, it's a serious thing. This is what this guy said. As the Antarctic ice sheet continues to melt away, we expect multi-year sea level rise from Antarctica in the coming centuries. In this century alone, a 10-foot rise is possible, he said. So 10 feet within the next 80 years would be catastrophic. And this isn't the floating sea ice that melts, and that's a seasonal thing that always happens. This is not that. This is separate from that. That's what the study said. It's separate. So these are some pretty startling numbers. Since 2009, almost 278 billion tons of ice has melted away from Antarctica per year, the new study found. Per year. In the 1980s, it was losing only 44 billion tons a year. That's a 7 times increase in 30 years. Scientists combined satellite data records with computer model outputs to estimate the Antarctic ice loss since 1979. East Antarctica, which used to be considered stable, is losing 56 billion tons of ice. They thought, oh, nothing will happen in East Antarctica. 56 billion tons a year. A study last year found little to no loss in East Antarctica. So now even the most stable parts are melting. I mean, is it shocking? We have an atmosphere. Everything just doesn't go out into space. It stays in the atmosphere. We have billions of cars running 24/7 all day, every day. There's cars on every road all day, every day, 24/7. I live in Los Angeles, in a major city, even a big city like this, in the dead of night at 3 in the morning on a Sunday or something like that. There's cars on the road, which means that's happening all over the world. And when it's nighttime here, it's top of the day at the other parts of the world. So then all those other majors, Shanghai, London, Tokyo, whatever. Rignot said that as climate warning and ozone depletion continue to send more ocean heat towards the Antarctic, the continent's melting ice will contribute to sea level rise for decades to come. This does so many things. Any part of the world where there's agriculture close to sea levels, if the salt water gets in there, it then ruins crops, right? So we saw this in that documentary, I forget the name of it, but about the Maldives. And salt water, damages crops. So as salt water starts to get in, and it will, and it comes up into waterways and stuff like that, where fresh water is supposed to come out, and then it's going to contaminate a lot. Okay? The solution to halt the melting isn't a surprise. Stop the burning of fossil fuels, which are releasing greenhouse gases into the Earth's atmosphere and oceans. I give them credit. It's a small article, they bear it, but they just put this isn't a surprise. We got to just stop the fossil fuels. It's all the more reason to constantly push candidates for a Green New Deal. Like for me, it's almost becoming my #1 purity test. If a candidate isn't going to fight hard for a real Green New Deal, not some, compromise-laden bag of pork belly bullshit, then we don't have, this has to happen. I mean, this just has to happen. I want to show you something here that I want to bring this map over to you. This is the map we looked at in the Mitchell Health interview, but this is at NOAA, NOAA.gov, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But this is just a sea level rise viewer. If you go to this website, this is what it looks like now. This is our current sea level. Okay, this is Manhattan, Jersey City. Okay, this is the current sea levels right here. So now look what happens if I go to this thing right here. This is at current sea levels. Let's say I raise it to 2 feet. Oh, do you see that? More blue. That's at 2 feet. Let's raise it 3 feet. More got taken away. There's Manhattan. Let's go up to 5 feet. Look at that. This is just one of the most densely populated areas in North America. But any other port city, Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, you name it, any other port city, this is going to happen. The ocean is like a big bathtub. That's 5 feet. Let's go up to 10 like that guy said in the article. Gone. Parts of Jersey are gone. Manhattan, I mean, what are you going to do? You got to evacuate the 10 to 20 million people that just live in this area. And all these are all the areas that are compromised. See this? That's what this means. These are the areas that are just compromised because look, the salt water can come in here, it can leak and flood. And this isn't when there's a storm. Imagine when there's a storm. So it's something, guys, we all need to pay close attention to. And this needs to be our main purity test as we get into this election, who we're gonna vote for. Who's gonna demand a Green New Deal if they become president? Demand it. Force it. Anybody in Senate or Congress, if they don't get involved, because let me tell you something. The environment is the #1 issue. Let's say we fix wage inequality, we fix racism, sexism, all that stuff, poverty, but we don't address the environment, it doesn't matter. Conversely, the Green New Deal fixes all of those things if implemented correctly. So I really appreciate all of you supporting the show. And please like, subscribe, share the videos, go to grahamelwood.com for tour dates, because the thing that was cool about the Progressive Comedy Tour, a lot of people, this woman showed up in Jacksonville. She's like, I showed up alone, and I was like, are there going to be 4 people here? And she lives in a small town in Florida where there's not a lot of progressives, and everyone gets to hang out and meet each other. Movement for a People's Party was there. The Democratic Socialists of America were there. Movement of People's Party were at, I think, 3 of the 4 shows that we did in Florida. And the DSA was at a couple of them too. So they got involved. You get involved and demand a Green New Deal. I'm the Political Vigilante. Thanks for watching.